Now we're ready to put the sheetrock up. Or actually we're ready to cut the sheetrock. We got the backing up here. This is called sheetrock backing. You see, because that's for our new sheetrock. The existing sheetrock's here, and I'll probably end up putting a couple extra screws in here too, or nails or whatever. Okay, so I got the backing here. I also have the backing over here. That's all ready. I don't need anything here, remember? Nothing along here. I don't need anything along here either. Okay, now before I cut that, I want to make sure I remember where this is. So I'm just going to take a pencil. I'm going to eyeball the center of this. I'm just going to put it here on the sheetrock. Okay? That way, once I have the sheetrock up here, I can line up that and know where the center is, right? Okay? You just eyeball it. I know I've got 3/4 here, 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches, 3/4. You just have to kind of remember that kind of stuff before you start nailing sheetrock up there willy-nilly or installing sheetrock screws. Now in this, I'm going to use sheetrock screws. I do have some sheetrock nails too. I don't like using nails for patches. I mean, they do make them 1 3/8 and 1 5/8, and there's a cupped head for them. So on the field nails, it cups in and it gives you enough room for the sheetrock mud. But I like to, we'll just see. We'll just see what I'm going to do about the sheetrock nails and sheetrock screws, okay? First things first, I got to measure this sheetrock now. Now if I had a little scrap of paper, that's what I would do, is I'd get my measurements. I got 41.5 over here, and I think on this other end I had 41 3/8, didn't I? Yep. I think that's what I had. Okay, I got 41 3/8. So in a sense I could make that one 41 1/4, and I could just write it down here, 41 1/4. That way I can look up there later and remember my measurement in case I don't have a piece of paper, whatever. I'm going to measure in here. I got 41.5. And so I'm going to make this 41 3/8. Remember, I'm going to cut it just a hair short. And if it's slightly off, I don't care about that. Main thing is I want to get it up in there and make sure that it fits. And if I have a slight gap, I'd rather have a slight gap than have to bring it back down and cut it again. Okay, so I'm going to measure this again. I got 41 3/8, and so I'm going to make 41 1/4. Now I know this piece of sheetrock here was the factory edge sheetrock, and that's the finished edge of this next piece of sheetrock. So I'm going to start here. So when I measure my 41 1/4, I'm going to go outside, take my sheetrock 41 1/4 from here over, not from this side over, okay? Because this is my square end, and I think it's more likely to fit a lot easier if I do that, okay? So I've got that. Now I've got my other measurements. I've got to take. I'm going to take pretty good measurements. I'm going to check them and make sure that once you transfer everything, it's going to fit. Okay. All right. I got 46.5 strong, which means 46.5 plus a 16th, which is 9/16. But I'm going to go 46 3/8. Okay, so I'm going to write 46 3/8 up here. At that end. And I could make it just a hair more than 46 3/8 if I wanted. You know, just a hair. Or you give the measurements to somebody down the ground and they have it marked out and they know exactly where you want your measurements, okay? Now this side I got 46 3/8. So I'm going to make this end 46 1/4. Wow, all these different measurements are slightly off. Now see, I don't want to make this side 46 1/4 because then that's too far. So I'm going to kind of take up the slop just a little bit because this joist was slightly off from that joist, okay? You can do that just the way that I'm doing it here. Now we're going to go outside and cut the sheetrock. Now here's the important thing I want you to realize on this. This is the 4x8 sheet. You want to look at this and see if it's got any broken corners. And when I look up here, I see it's got just a little bit of a crease there. So I want to make my cut, and this looks all nice here. I'm gonna end up cutting it out of this right here. Okay, I'm gonna transfer all my marks. And the important thing, because this opening is not perfectly square, okay, I've gotta remember how to cut this, because this is the side that faces down. But when I cut, I want to cut from this side. I don't want to cut from the other side. I got to cross-reference all my measurements backwards, so that after I cut it, I flip it upside down. I want it to be going the right direction. Okay? And funny thing is, you see this color? This is pink or purple sheetrock. Most sheetrock is not this color. It's a standard kind of off-white color. Well, this stuff here, they sometimes you might have seen it green sheetrock, and it's like mold, not necessarily resistant, but it's for wet areas and that stuff. Like you put it in a bathroom just on the off chance if it gets any moisture on it or anything. Because the roof had leaked before, we're going to go ahead and put that up there just because we knew that there was another moisture issue. Main thing is the roof has to be airtight. If it's not, obviously if it gets water on here, it's gonna have a problem later on. But because we had the chance of getting it, this is what we're gonna use. We're gonna cut this sheetrock, and we've got to cut this sheetrock out only to here and down. Now, I don't want you to just think you're gonna cut this piece out like that. Usually if it's that big, you're gonna cut all the way across, you know? And if you got a long, this is just a level, if you got a long level like this, it's 4 feet long, you can go from end to end and use this as your straight edge. Take your sheetrock knife, score it. Okay, but what if you don't have one this long? How else are you going to do that? Again, you know, they have a T-square at the store. If you're going to cut sheetrock a lot, you put it across there, you get one mark, and you cut it across there. But, you know, you got your trusty chalk line again. Got a pencil mark there. You run this all the way across. You can snap that. And now, if you've got a 2-foot level, I mean, you got to have something as a straight edge. If you have a 2-foot level, you can do the first little bit to here, move your level on down, and go to there. Okay? Because we got the long one, I'm just going to use that from point to point. I got my pencil mark, and I'm going to put my knee on here, and I'm just going to use this. It's good to have a sharp sheetrock knife, okay? Just score it a couple times, like that. Hang on to it. Okay, now before I break that off, I'm going to go ahead and cut my other piece. I'm going to score it, okay? Use this. Get it on your mark where you need it. I'm cutting from the top of the sheetrock. You don't want to cut from the bottom. You always cut from the top. Okay? So far so good. Now I'm gonna break off the entire 4-foot piece. So in order to do that, I gotta lift this up. Now I can just slide it towards me like that, and it bends because I got the top cut. Okay. Now I can take my sheetrock knife. I'm going to gently score this. Just like that. Now I can lean this piece off to the side. That's the piece I'm not going to use now, right? And I've got to remember where my cut is. The cut is on the bottom. So generally I don't like to just flop this down because this could break because it's a short little piece, okay? I'm just going to turn it up like this. Fold this back down to the ground, like that. Now I know the cut is about here, so I just want to push it like that, and up it comes. Like that. And there you go. Okay, now I can use these pieces for later, whatever. Now, I like to clean these edges off. And if I had a little grater, a little rasp type thing, I could do that. I don't have one with me, so I'm just going to take my knife because it doesn't cut off perfect. And that's why you don't want to measure this exact. Okay? you got one of these little nibs coming off, if it's slightly off, it may not fit. I mean, worst case scenario, you got to bring it back down and trim off a little bit and put it up there again. Okay? I just like to try to do as much as I can so I make sure it fits the first time. You know, if you're getting paid by the hour, nobody wants to see you spend an arm and a leg putting the sheetrock up. Okay? Now, because this piece wasn't square, I've got to figure out which side was the square point so I can hold it up there right and put it in. Okay, time to get slightly technical. For any of you people out there who might be on the technical side, when I measured this, you remember this side was longer than this side. You got to pick one side. We had all kinds of measurements going on, didn't we? And I needed to find out, I wanted to find out which joist was square to this pre-finished edge of this sheetrock over here. Remember? Because I know that was a pre-finished piece of sheetrock from here that way. So I know when my sheetrock goes up, I want to put it on a square end. I don't want to just measure it and find out I should have flipped it around the other way or that way or whatever. So I wanted to take a square side, whether or not it was this side or that side. Now, how did I come up with that? Well, here's one easy way to do it. If you have a square, this is called a square, you could put that in the corner here and maybe put the long side facing out this way and pushing it in there and seeing if that's square. And son of a gun, it is square. That means this piece is square to that piece. Now, just for kicks, you wanted to see that over here, you put that up over here. I can hold it there, push on there, and this wobbles a little bit. This piece is not up tight, so I know this is longer than this side over here, right? Okay, so then that's what, when I did my measurements, I got 46 1/4 here, 46 3/8 over there. Okay? And so I know, see there, this joist is not perfectly square to this sheetrock, even though this sheetrock is straight to the wall. Okay, I know it's kind of technical. You don't really have to get that technical, but here's one other way I wanted to show you. If you only have a tape measure on whether or not you find out which end is square, in case you ever need to. We only need to do that because this is a patch. Well, if you know anything about geometry, to get a square, you got 3 feet there, 4 feet here, and if you connect point to point this way, that's 5. That's called a 3, 4, 5. Okay, but I don't have 5 feet. I don't have 4 feet here. This is less than 4 feet. Remember? This side was less than 4 feet, it's 46. And so if you want, you can split that. And just for kicks, we're going to go half, half, and half. So 3, 4, 5 then becomes 1.5 feet this way. So if I go 1.5, and if I go 2 feet this way, because 2 is half of 4, 3, 4, 5, remember? 3, 4, 5, so half, half, and half. You got 2 feet, you got 1.5 feet. You got to measure this exactly where everything is, okay? So if I go to that point, to this point, what should I have? If I got 3, 4, 5, and I'm splitting it, I got 1.5, 2, and half of 5 is 2.5. So if I hold my tape measure from point to point, I should be 2 foot 6 inches, and boom, I'm right on it from tip to tip. And that's how I know this is square if I didn't have a square, okay? Now most of the time when you hang sheetrock, you don't have to be that technical. This is just something that may help you on figuring out a square line up on the ceiling, down on the wall, or down on the floor, something like that. Always remember the 3, 4, 5 method. So if you got something that's a real big, long wall, then you don't really want to go 3, 4, 5. You can double that. You can go 6, 8, 10, right? 12, 16, 20. And you can do something like that. If you need to get something square so that you're laying out some walls or something, like that, T-bar ceiling or anything like that, okay? That's just a little bit above and beyond. Now, back to the project.